I used to think that with age came wisdom, but then at my age, I'd have to be super smart. More often than not today, I find myself dumbstruck. Today, we cannot talk about the readings without looking at the exact world that we have around us in this moment. The atrocities of the last 3 weeks in Israel, in the Ukraine, and here in Maine have been staggering. They've left me gobsmacked, appalled, and gut-wrenched. Worse, those activities have shockingly spawned a spin-off of other non-warring country but bad behaviors. According to data collected by the Global Project Against Hate and Extremism, the anonymous, unregulated online messaging platform called 4chan saw a 479% uptick in explicit anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim slurs, along with calls to kill both groups in 2 short days between October 6 and October 8. And that data was just regarding the words people use. The threats, the destroyed properties, the beatings, and the killings have raged in staggering numbers in countries that are not touched by that war specifically, like ours and England and France. We're not even close to those battle lines. In the US alone, anti-Semitic incidents are up 400% since the Israel-Hamas war began, and we were already at increased elevated rates since 9/11. I could go on, but I won't. What's a Christian supposed to do in the midst of all this mess? Fortunately, all 3 readings tonight help us unpack that. I'll start with Paul's letter to the Thessalonians because it makes me feel better. Basically, like any good parent, Paul starts with praise to inject hope into their lives. In some, he says, I am so pleased. You've been doing so many great things. You've got this. But then, like any good parent, he also advises us that we have not yet arrived. He outlines there's more work to be done. He offers prayers for all that we can be in the light of all that we've already become. And I want you and I to rest in that space for just a little bit tonight. Think about the fact that we do know what to do. As I try to go on and affirm, Paul's work is yet to be done. You might just cut out. Our first reading and our gospel offer the path on what we are to become. Each gives us the laws of moral importance regarding how we are to treat one another. And the words that Jesus most often uses and the stories that he most often tells resonate around a single word: compassion. I'll be honest, here's where I get a little dumbfounded. Why can't we all get along if our guiding principle is to exercise compassion? After all, it's not merely a Christian value. Other major world religions reference compassion as a value, a high virtue, a liberation, or a manifestation of love. Buddhism and Hinduism use the word karuna. Islam calls it Rama. Judaism calls it chesed. Confucianism says Ren. Sikhism uses kirpa. And Taoism references the concept of wu wei. Compassion, then, should sway the world, right? In the Christian tradition, Jesus does not give us the option for choosing whom we will treat with mercy, compassion, and love. The way we love God is through loving our neighbors, and we don't get to pick our neighbors. So what does it mean to love? Most often we consider love an emotion. Retired Presbyterian pastor Paul Ball reminds us it's not an emotion. There are, of course, very strong emotions affiliated with love, but at its core, love is grounded not solely in emotion. If love were based only in emotions, what would happen if we found ourselves vexed or angry with our spouses, our kids, our extended family members, or our in-laws? The ones we've promised to love, the ones we keep telling we do love. Our love would be conditional, fluctuating as frequently as our moods in that moment. And in my house, that would not be a good thing. If love were primarily an emotion, there would be no dependability in any of our relationships. Love is not primarily emotion. Pastor Ball reminds us love is a decision that we make every day, and then we remake repeatedly. I mean, minute by minute and moment by moment. My sister used to always tell her husband, "I love you, but right now I don't like you very much." And in that way, she was reminding herself that it was a choice, that she was making a decision in the service of love. Unfortunately, she was using her outside voice, but that's a whole nother story. Love is a choice we make with whom and what we will be or allow to be important to us. And based on those decisions, our love becomes something we do. So in this upside down and sometimes terrifying world, what do we do? I'm not flying to Israel to take up a cause. I'm not even organizing a march on the Capitol in the name of justice in our long and growing list of injustices. Instead, I'm doing my best to walk my journey with my gifts in the life that I've created for myself. But that doesn't mean I'm off the hook. You and I, as Christians, hold sway in this world, and you and I do have work to do. The first bit of work we have to do is love our neighbors. In May, the U.S. Surgeon General released a report that found when people lack a connection to others, it could increase their risk for premature death to levels comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Author of the book An Importance of Friendship, Lydia Denworth, stated that friendships positively alter our cardiovascular system, our immune system, our sleep patterns, and our overall cognitive health. It turns out that friendship is actually a matter of life and death. Yet in a recent Pew Research study, 8% of Americans say they have no close friends, and only 38% report that they have more than 5 friends. And in that same May report, the U.S. Surgeon General raised an advisory on the epidemic of loneliness in the United States. While I highly recommend we all go out and make some friends, I know it's not feasible to befriend everyone you meet. But that doesn't mean we can't be friendly to everyone we meet, especially today. To be listened to be paid attention to, is to be loved. It may sound simple, but it's really hard work. If you've ever listened deeply to the point that you were so caught up in someone else's story, you couldn't even consider your own story or your rebuttal or your comments when they were done talking, then you know it's really hard work. Yesterday, in our fabulous workshop, Soul Types, Jane Kesey highlighted the differences between sensing and perceiving. When you are listening deeply to someone, you are both sensing their specific words and their nonverbal actions, like facial expressions, but you are also perceiving their unspoken messages, the words around their words. It takes a tremendous amount of focus to be able to do that. You can know you've been attending deeply when the speaker pauses to ask for your thoughts, and you realize you haven't even had a moment to think about your thoughts, because you've been so caught up in theirs. So my first challenge to you is this week, try to listen deeply, at least once, to one person for an extended period of time. And when you're done, notice how they leave the conversation, how they feel because of that conversation. My guess is they will leave feeling that you honored them or valued them in some way. A culture's moral condition rests on how it treats others in its midst. So if you've not had the time to attend to everyone, then at a minimum, try smiling at every stranger you meet. Sometimes, in my hurried life, as I dash between airplanes at a dead run, I forget to tell my face that I am happy. I can be stressed, but still happy. I know firsthand that bumping into a woman with a scowl on a mad dash with a weighted suitcase trailing behind her is not a pleasant experience for anyone, including the mad woman. This week, as I prepared for this reflection, I tried smiling more. And as a result, I accidentally and blessedly made some new and amazing acquaintances who had incredible life stories to share with me. I'm not going to see them again, but I can promise you that we each left our flights feeling a little bit lighter in the daily burdens that we're carrying. So my challenge to you, number 2, try being friendly. Tell your face to smile. Often. The second bit of work that we're going to have to do is to intentionally deepen our spiritual journey and our understanding of our chosen faith. Like love, faith is never a habit. It's a decision that has to be made again and again. I confess that as I entered the doors of Spirit of Hope a little over 11 years ago, I was a refugee Roman Catholic. I returned week after week because I enjoyed Reverend Shanahan's homilies. But when I knew I was going to stay, I knew I couldn't stay just because of Marty. And I knew I couldn't stay just to avoid being Roman Catholic. I was going to have to start making decisions about being Old Catholic. Today, I can tell you that I am here because our faith is truly lay-led, because the clergy are here to guide and serve. I can tell you I am here because our faith welcomes all to the table, and our stated values are immersed in compassion. We don't get caught up in the religious wars of who can be a priest and who can't, who can belong and who can't. I'm here because we're willing to adjust our prayers to align with our inclusive beliefs and practices. I'm here because it's about loving relationships and not just about church rules. Richard Rohr says that true religion is about falling in love with God. So I'm here because everyone at Spirit of Hope helps me to deepen my journey and fall in love with God. I'm here because in this space, I am loved, I am forgiven, and I am reminded that I'm a precious child of God who was encouraged to love, forgive, and find the sacredness in others. So here's my third and final challenge for us tonight. Do something this week to explore one thing that keeps you here. Not a person, but a reason to be Old Catholic. And so as I began tonight, so shall I end. I will never understand why humans tear each other down, or why Christians can at times be hateful in the name of justice and ostracize others. But I'm going to flip Paul's message around to say, there's work to be done, but we do know the path forward: compassion and deepening our faith, building relationships with one another. And I'll end with, we got this. I was so very proud yesterday of us during our annual meeting, the level of commitment that we expressed to each other and to our community, our willingness to deepen our exploration in how we will be together, how we will strengthen that, our ability to learn together, and our pure joy in being with each other, all led me to believe that Reverend Marty Shanahan can retire, and Spirit of Hope will live on. So, I have prayers for what we can be in the light of all that we have already become. This is our faith. This is our community. And we know how to make the world a better and more welcoming place, one smile at a time. Please start in this moment. Turn to someone nearby and give them your first dazzling smile of the week.